Okay, cybersecurity firm Proofpoint has published some new research. It shows that cyber criminals are turning companies' supply chain and partners' ecosystems into another threat vector. For more, let's bring in Ryan Kalember. He's the Senior Vice President of Cybersecurity Strategy at Proofpoint. Ryan, thank you for your time.
Pleasure to be here.
First of all, can you just tell us about this research? What exactly were your researchers looking for, and ultimately, what did they find?
So we were looking across 3,000 organizations in the US, in the UK, and in Australia, and trying to look at their business communications, how they interacted with partners, and whether those third parties that they rely on to do business were actually sending them things that were malicious. And somewhat depressingly, we found that in 98% of cases, an organization had in fact received a threat from one of its trusted suppliers.
And what did you find in terms of the most common types of supplier threats?
It tends to be what we would call credential phishing, somebody trying to steal your password. There's also quite a few what we call imposter attacks, where someone is pretending to be someone they're not, usually in order to redirect a wire transfer. This has led to billions in worldwide losses, but it's really interesting to see the supply chain component to it really become quite dominant. We often think of supply chain attacks like the SolarWinds attacks, which made news around the world quite recently. But really, your supply chain, where you exchange money all day, every day, really is one of the most vulnerable areas for most businesses.
I'm guessing many businesses don't actually know that they are being attacked, that they're being targeted. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. If you think about your email, you probably trust that the from address is correct most of the time, that that person is not being impersonated, whether it is your boss, whether it's someone you work with at a third party firm. But ultimately, we're all relying on these cloud services like Microsoft Office 365, Google Workspace, Dropbox, and all of them are rife with abuse. We often think of cyber criminals inhabiting the dark corners of the internet, but really they're using trusted cloud infrastructure against us now, and our email accounts are sort of at the front of that battle.
Did the researchers observe any differences across industries, across countries?
Well, somewhat depressingly, Australia was the highest rate of supply chain abuse. We saw that
Wow.
in 100% of Australian organizations we looked at.
Why do you think
It
that
was a
is? Is there
tick
any
higher
particular
than.
reason?
Well, I think it is the types of industries that tend to dominate the Australian economy. Quite a few services-based industries like engineering firms, construction firms, manufacturers, all of which are prime targets. They exchange lots of money in unpredictable ways across wide geographies, and that is really, really ideal from a cyber criminal's perspective.
Okay, what's your advice then for businesses?
Couple of very simple things. Do not trust email insofar as you possibly can. Anything that can be verified in a different channel absolutely should. Cyber criminals have simply taken over too many cloud accounts, and even if it's a reply to a real email chain, it is always, always, always useful to pick up the phone and have better processes around simply not trusting digital communications and building in some safeguards so you don't see millions and millions wired out the door, as far too many organizations have this year. We actually just stopped a wire transfer request for $194 million that was just earlier this week.
Wow, that's a huge amount of money. Ryan, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.